How you doing? In this video, I kind of want to discuss some of the problems that we've ran into over the years. Let's say you're starting a company and you want to do concrete floors, and there are a couple things I could tell you about that may happen to you if you, especially if you've been doing it for a while. If you haven't been doing it for a while and you're just starting, these are some things you really want to pay attention to, and some things that I learned that I'd like to just share with you. One of the main things that we've had with these engines, after years, you're going to probably run into it, a problem. You're going to go to do a floor, and you're going to pour it, and you're going to pull this rope here, and this thing's going to break. In my truck right here, I have a whole complete kit along with an engine, and if this rope breaks, we can just change this out. I think they're 8mm bolts. Zip this off and put a whole new one right on it. Worst case scenario, if you didn't have that happen, you don't have a spare, take this cover right off, you wrap a rope around it and give it a pull, and as you pull it, it'll spin it, and when it starts, it'll come right off. I've done that before in the past. You can put an impact gun on it with a socket and turn it that way. So that's another problem that you may come into over time. It probably will happen to you. It might be 10 years down the road, but those are little things that I've noticed. One job we were on, I had a 4-foot machine, a Whitman, and in the carburetor, there's like a little bit of a needle down in here. And what happened is, I always like to leave the fuel off. Here's your on-off and your choke here, but leave the fuel off. One time, the little needle seat failed, and all the gas from the gas tank here went down into the crankcase of the engine. Now, at that time, that was quite a few years back ago, and I didn't have a spare carburetor. We had to call for a buddy of mine to come and bring us a spare machine, because we couldn't leave the floor. It was 90 degrees out, and the floor was setting up. We had to scramble to finish it by hand, and that was something I said, I'll never do that again. So another thing to keep in mind is on these Honda motors, some of the problems you're going to eventually face: rope breaking, spare carburetor, spare spark plugs. You buy it in a kit and you get the whole thing. I get the cover, the rope, spare carburetor, spare plugs, fuel lines, everything like that. You can have a whole extra kit if you don't have a whole extra engine, but I carry that kit in the truck. So that kit that I have is, let's see, we have it in one of these boxes. So this is some of the extra stuff we have here. So in this kit, let's see if I can find a spot here where I can show you. In this kit, like I said, it's raining out today. So in this kit, we got an extra pull starter handle. Good thing to have. Extra oil. You definitely, these things take about a quart of oil. You could have a problem where if your machine leaks oil or something, it won't start. It has a sensor on the bottom, so if you're low on oil and you need this machine in a pinch, if you didn't start it up before and find out you need it and you don't have it on a hot day, extra oil is handy. Ignition switch, it's good to have that. I think we even have, this one's got a carburetor, an extra carburetor, brand new, spark plug and ignition coil, and a filter. This one's got all the gaskets and everything. So this kit is really handy to have in your truck. It pretty much covers everything you need, and just know how to install this stuff. You don't want to be on a floor and realize that something happens and you don't have the knowledge of how to do it. I actually have a whole nother spare kit right in there with more parts. And like I said, I have a whole extra engine that I can use. If worst case scenario, machine went down, we have extra machines, but these are just things you're going to run into when you're in the field. And I'm just trying to tell you about them before it happens to you and share some stories with you on things that you're going to run into. Let's see, what are the other problems we've had with these things? Oh, all right, so another thing I want to talk about, make sure you always have extra blades. We have extra blades on machines. Let's see. I want to say also, this is another thing that happened to us not long ago. is one of these bolts fell off from the power trowel blade, and it caused the whole blade to spin all over the place. Luckily, we have spare bolts. That was something in my truck. I have all kinds of extra mechanic tools and things like that. Every tool you can think of that's going to allow you to repair one of these machines on site. We did have an extra bolt and we were able to do that, but I never thought that would happen. It must have just, I put some kind of grease on those bolts so they don't rust in there, and it must have backed its way out, and I didn't catch it in time. We lost it. We tried to start it up to put it on the floor, and we realized it when we were pulling it through the snow. So that's another thing to keep in mind. I really haven't had a problem with anything like the belts. I'll check them every year, but I haven't, you know, I got some older machines that I haven't had to replace those, but it's probably not a bad idea to have a spare belt. So that's it. We pretty much covered a lot of the problems that you might run into in the field that I've ran into with these machines. And like I said, I run these Hondas and they're really reliable. We have an old one here, probably like 20 years old. And the only one thing I've done to this particular 4-horse, this is a 4-horse, is I've replaced the ignition coil in it for the spark plug on the flywheel, and that's it. That's the only thing that's ever gone on this machine. This one's going on, I think it's about 22 years old. And that's pretty much it. If you guys have ran into any other problems that you've had on these machines, or trying to think if I have any other stories to talk about. But like I said, this is the kind of the punch down list that I would recommend is the pull rope, carburetor, spark plugs, oil, fuel. Make sure you get extra fuel when you're doing a floor. You don't want to run out of fuel right there in the middle of the floor and have to scramble out to get some. Make sure you have extra fuel, extra blades. Let's see, the tools for fixing machines when they go down. Now this one's got the poly blade, so I can't show you the tip on this particular machine. But what we'll do is we'll take a cordless grinder, and if you need to make a little more life out of your blades, what we'll do is we'll just take a grinder. I just scratched my truck right there. That wasn't good. But this has got poly blades, so you wouldn't have to do it with this one. But you just take a grinder right here, an angle grinder, and just kind of pass it over this, because with the metal blades, they get all kind of frazzled out a little bit. And I just grind them to clean them up, and you get more usage out of them. If you have finished blades, you can flip them. But it's another trick to get a little bit more usage out of them. And that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching the video. If you have any cool tips down below, let me know. Thank you.